Hello, everyone. My name is Matt Aran from Aran Academic Planning. This is another installment in our virtual information session series in which I am joined by admission representatives from schools all across the United States, Canada, and Europe. These schools represent a wide variety of options for you and your family to consider as you go through the college search process, from liberal arts colleges to state public institutions, religiously affiliated schools, women's colleges, men's colleges, all colleges in between. And today I'm joined by Dysean Alexander from Lafayette College. So Dysean, take it away for us.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. Hi, everybody. Dysean Alexander. I am the Associate Director of West Coast Admissions for Lafayette College. That means that I help any and all families that are coming from Southern California, the states of Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Idaho, South Dakota, North Dakota. I even do Nebraska, and even our international students in Pakistan. I've been here at Lafayette for 7 years, and I was actually campus-based those 7 years prior, and I'm a lifelong resident of the Lehigh Valley where we're located. So I'll be sure to tell you some of the big benefits of my hometown as well as we talk about Lafayette here. Without further ado, I'll jump into the presentation. Now, just note if I did not mention any of those territories and you're represented from one of those spaces, you can find the information for your specific admissions rep just by visiting our website. Underneath admissions, you'll see Meet the Team. Go ahead and start the conversation. I would say the best way is to shoot them an email. Say, hey, checking out Lafayette seems like a great place. I saw this virtual presentation with a guy named Dysean. He seems like a great person. Give him a raise. Best way to get things flowing. But the best way to get this presentation started is by letting y'all know two of the biggest details that everybody has to know about Lafayette up front. The first is going to be our namesake. So if you're not familiar with it, we're actually named after a person, the Marquis de Lafayette himself. If you have not seen the musical Hamilton or studied the American Revolution yet, he pops up a good amount of times in both of those. But just to give you a quick history so that you know why we associate. So the Marquis de Lafayette was a Frenchman, and at the time of the American Revolution, he saw what was going on, went to the King of France at that time, was like, look, lots of big things happen in America that I think we should be a part of. King of France at that time was like, nah, fam, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna eat croissants. We're gonna do whatever they was doing in France at that time. All right, Marquis de Lafayette didn't like that answer, so he defied the orders of his king, sailed across the ocean, and partook in the American Revolution. We share that story associated with the namesake because, as you can see, he did all of that at the age of 19. So most of you exploring your college search process will be in that same position that he was in. And yes, for our admissions process, we do ask you to defy the orders of at least one king. So if you want to go to a Burger King and be like, look, I'm not ordering here no more, that's totally satisfactory. We'll take that. Now, in all seriousness, this is because just like the Marquis de Lafayette, you are each looking for a place to spark a revolution or find a place that calls you to action, for a lack of better terms. And here at Lafayette, we don't believe that any grade or any age is too early to get that started. One of the benefits of our campus size, which I'll talk about in a second here. The second thing that you must know is our motto. So you'll see it right here, cur non. If anybody out there has taken Latin, that translates to why not in English. And this is what we ask all of our students to think about when they come out here to Lafayette. Why not do this? Why not do that? Why not do everything and anything that you'd like to do in your 4-year college experience? Your 4-year college experience is your opportunity to explore whatever you'd like to freely. So if you would like to explore those theater stages and the plays that happen in the Williams Arts Center on a Tuesday here on campus, you can feel free to do that. If you want to explore La Farm, which is on our northern part of campus, our own campus farm, you can feel free to do that on a Thursday and test out your green thumb. If it's just nice sunny day on campus like it is in my backdrop and you just want to lounge out on the Adirondack chairs or the swings that align our campus, you can feel free to do that as well. So students usually when they come here, they think with this Kurnan mindset, and by the time they graduate, it leads to what we call a Kurnan moment, a moment that they look back on their 4 years and say, this is when I thought, why not? And it led to this amazing opportunity or this experience that I wouldn't trade in for the world. Students have done that so much that it's actually inspired us to create a new motto. You might see it in some of our recent publications, which is discover your and, or discover the power of and. If you're looking at other liberal arts colleges that are similar to Lafayette, you may see this as a common theme. But here at Lafayette, we really do weave it into the fabric of who we are, where students are encouraged to do more than just one thing, not only in their academics, in their activities, in their community involvements, in research. It creates this inspiring community where you have things like liberal arts and engineering coexisting. You have professors that are not only professional, but also personal. You have a campus that is not only built upon its traditions, but also looking for ways to innovate as we've just finished celebrating our 200th year, so our bicentennial. And a campus that is not only big in its makeup as far as offerings, but truly built on community by being our small atmosphere. So as I go throughout the rest of the presentation, you'll see some of these aspects of how students can discover the power of Van and how things blend together. But to get into some of the more nitty-gritty points, I'll hit you with some information, whether you know a little bit about Lafayette, a lot of bit about Lafayette, just to let you know kind of a little bit of who we are. So we are a smaller size liberal arts institution. When I say smaller, we're talking 2,725 students approximately. So this creates a student teacher ratio of 10 to 1, average classroom size only being 18 and a half students. So what that means is that if you ever come here and visit campus and you see just a pair of legs floating around, do not get concerned that it's just our half a student. All right, that's another joke, y'all. Another joke. Now, in all seriousness, it means that if you know what you want to do from the first day of your first year, you can come here and confidently hit the ground running. But if you are unsure or undecided, that is also the benefit of attending a liberal arts institution, because here at Lafayette, you don't have to declare your major until the end of your sophomore year. The only major that's different for students that are thinking engineering major would have to declare by the end of your first year. But it still gives you that opportunity to come in undecided, take some courses in this and that, connect with your advisor since you are given an academic and a career advisor from the first day of your first year. Have these conversations and make a decision when you feel strong and confident. Students appreciate that flexibility because there is a lot of different routes that you can go here at Lafayette. We have 4 different academic divisions breaking down into engineering, the natural sciences, social sciences, and the humanities. Being a liberal arts institution, this means that we do have our common course of studies, so all students will cross these divisions throughout your 4 years, allowing you to pick from a plethora of different opportunities from our 50 plus majors and 40 plus minors across these divisions to get a well-rounded education, which we think prepares students for the future that they're entering. There's 2 ways that students can customize their degree right off the bat when coming here at Lafayette. The first is going to be through our pre-professional programs. So these are pre-med, pre-law, pre-dental, and pre-veterinary. What these do is give you an additional advisor your junior year, something that helps you get prepared for these next levels of education, helps you out with the testing, application process, all those details to make sure that you're in the best possible position for that next step. But it also doesn't pigeonhole you into just going into those schools. If you're interested in those career fields, if you're interested in internship opportunities, you'll still be able to discuss all those outcomes and opportunities. The second way to customize your degree is going to be through our interdisciplinary majors and minors. These are kind of like tokens that you can tack on to a degree to get some additional depth or interest that you may like. Examples in the interdisciplinary majors could be like policy studies, women's gender sexuality studies, or some of our foreign languages. In the minors, it could be architectural studies, organizational studies, music and technology. We even have one in medieval and Renaissance studies. So if you just love that aspect of history, just a good old-fashioned turkey leg, I like to imagine that the final project involves some sort of turkey leg in that class. You can really kind of have it your way, which is cool. So really encouraging students to build a degree that reflects on all your passions, all your interests is strongly going to be encouraged in the classroom with all the opportunities that you have. It's also going to be strongly encouraged for you to explore your interests outside of the classroom because as you can see here, we have 130 plus clubs and activities available for students on campus. That is a lot. We have so many on campus because if we do not have a club on campus, we encourage students to go ahead and get it started. So this means we have some clubs that will stand the test of time, such as the Lafayette newspaper, which is the oldest college newspaper in the state of Pennsylvania. Quick flex there. And then some clubs that will pop up just given the common interest of students that year, such as how we got a Quidditch team. Because everybody loved Harry Potter about 20 years ago, which is insane to say that Harry Potter came out 20 years ago, but we're not going to talk about that today. Understand, though, this gives students a lot of opportunities to explore your interests. So you'll see a couple of our more popular clubs here on the screen, but I'll end with talking about the 2 most populated. But just to highlight some of the ones you see here, Greek life is a part of our campus. You'll see here 29% of students are involved, but that is only out of sophomores, juniors, and seniors, since first-year students are not allowed to rush or be recruited. But we have about 4 fraternities on campus, 3 sororities, all connected with philanthropy-based organizations as well. So as much as they have a presence on campus, they have a presence in the community. Speaking of community, community service is a big aspect of what students can get involved in here on campus through the Landis Center for Community Engagement, helping you do things on the local level right here in the town of Easton, or even on the global level with things such as Habitat for Humanity or some of our study abroad opportunities. Students are getting very involved in sustainability and entrepreneurship, which I'll talk a little bit about later since those are our 2 biggest research opportunities. But the two biggest, most populated clubs currently are going to fall within our athletics and our arts offerings. So first thing, when it comes to athletics, we are proud to be one of the smallest NCAA institutions that offers Division One athletics. So we have 23 Division One sports competing in the Patriot League. This allows us to be a small school with big opportunities. If you're looking to continue your athletic endeavors at the Division One level, you can receive an athletic scholarship. But as you'll see here, we do also offer club sports and intramural sports. That way, if you wanted to continue being active, doing any athletics, but not at the Division One level, you have that opportunity. Like I said, this allows us to have these big school elements, build a lot of school spirit, a lot of camaraderie. If you don't know this, our mascot is a leopard, so it also means it's never a bad day to rock leopard spots here on campus. And it also means that you can be a part of some really big traditions. One of those is being a part of the country's longest, most consecutively played college football rivalry game. All right, if you do any research on us, y'all might hear about this game. We've been playing a school in the town next to us. Their name starts with L, ends with Oozers for about 162 years. All right, just kidding. It's Lehigh over there. But just to put in perspective how big this game gets, this season will be the 164th rivalry game, I believe. But the 105th game was played at sold out Yankee Stadium. So you always like to say that we're a school so small that has traditions so big, it can sell out a whole stadium, which is pretty cool. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, arts is our second most populated activity here on campus, where students can do many things, pursuing what it would be the visual arts, studio arts, musical arts, whether it's vocal or instrumental, dance, photography. I think I mentioned theater, podcasting. We got a radio station on campus. We got a printmaking station on campus. So tons of ways for students to continue your endeavors in the arts. If you are looking to major or minor in the arts, we do not require students to submit a portfolio, but know that some of the clubs or activities on campus may require an audition, just given the spaces or availability. Tons of ways for students to continue their endeavors in the arts, even if you're not a major. So I strongly encourage you, if you do a lot of art things right now in high school, to go on our website and check out our Kappa Scholars Program. That's CAPA Scholars Program, and read all about how we're allowing students to discover the power of and doing some big art initiatives while not even being an art major, which is pretty cool. All right. Next thing I want to talk about is the location. You should definitely know a lot about where you're going to, depending on where you decide to live for the next 4 years. But this is also where I like to emphasize that everybody knows that Lafayette College is located in Easton, Pennsylvania. Every admission cycle, I get at least one email from a family that says, "Hey, I can't wait to come to Lafayette College and try that amazing Cajun food that y'all have in Lafayette, Louisiana." And I'm like, no, 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 no. It gets a little bit more cold up here. We are located in the Lehigh Valley, which you can see right here is Easton, Bethlehem, and Allentown. And these three towns make up the third most populated area in Pennsylvania. So behind Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, we're next in population size, which puts us in the middle of everywhere. As you can see, only an hour from Philadelphia, 2 hours to New York City, and then about 3.5, 4 hours to the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, but also makes us accessible. We do have our own airport, only 20 minutes from campus, although I am transparent that it's always usually cheaper to fly out of Philadelphia or the Newark, New Jersey airport, which are only about an hour from campus, and we do offer transportation for students to get to and from those airports covered by the college. This means that we also have our own public transportation, so you can ride the Lanta bus throughout the whole entire Lehigh Valley, get you from the first point of Easton to the first point in Allentown, and you ride it for free just by showing your ID. We have our own campus shuttle, tons of other transportation methods, and first-year students can have cars on campus. It's just a $100 parking pass for the year. But being right here in Easton, it is a small city with big charm. If you're not familiar with Easton, I'll give you the quick highlights. We are known for the Pennsylvania State Theater, brings on some big name acts on their way to Broadway, the longest ongoing farmers market in the country. And if anybody out there has ever used a Crayola crayon, marker, or colored pencil, it came from downtown Easton. This is where the Crayola factory was founded. You can come down here, do the whole Crayola experience, get a crayon made in your favorite color, even get a picture with the world's largest crayon. It's quite the experience. But Easton is also becoming known as a festival hub. Many festivals that happen throughout the academic year. That way, students can circle these events, considering them adjacent events to campus to also explore. The big three are going to be Clam Jam, which is a big seafood festival, Garlic Fest, which is where everybody's breath just stinks, and then Bacon Fest, which brings about 90,000 people to the streets of Easton just because they can smell it. It's a really good time and it's loads of fun. But they'll even do a Lafayette student stage to show that appreciation between the town and the college. Speaking a little bit more about on-campus opportunities, as y'all can see here, 38 on-campus dormitories where 93% of students live on campus. And that is because we guarantee on-campus living for all 4 years. So when you come here to Lafayette, you have this opportunity to not only find a dorm on campus that kind of fits best with you, that has the accommodations that you're looking for, but also maybe one that just has the best spot or view on campus or the one that's closest to your classes for that morning. So it does give students a lot of opportunities and options when exploring as far as where they like to live. And then after your first year, you can explore some of those off-campus housing options that we have, such as some of our more houses for residents or even our special interest housing as well. Big highlights that I always like to drop real quick just about the Lehigh Valley, since like I said, it is my hometown. So if you are not familiar, the other biggest things to always share about Lehigh Valley is that it is a smaller like city. So we have two semi-pro sports teams in baseball and hockey, PP&L entertainment venue, and then even Donny Park and Wildwater Kingdom, which was an amusement park and water park, all within a 30-minute radius of our campus. But the biggest thing that I always like to highlight is that the Lehigh Valley truly is a college town. If you're not familiar with it, not only do you have Lafayette, but you have a total of 7 colleges and universities in the Lehigh Valley, and they're all connected through what's called the LVAG, the Lehigh Valley Association of Independent Colleges. So if you attend one of them, like Lafayette, you have access to take classes at all the other 6 schools while still being a Lafayette student and getting Lafayette credit. And any programs that they offer, whether it's speaking engagements, musical performances, you can attend those. If it's free or discounted to their students, it's free or discounted to ours. So when you come here on Lafayette's campus, small personal learning environment, but within the Lehigh Valley, about 15,000 college students that are living here during the academic months. So giving you a bigger college community to actually be a part of, which is really great. Now, most times throughout these presentations, there's like a talking tour after this. You'll get a whole breakdown of campus. I don't got time to do all of that, but what I do have time to do real quick is just tell you about one of my favorite spots on campus. Tons of spots to explore, but my favorite is going to be the quad. If you ever come to campus, you walk past the quad. If classes are in session, there's going to be something happening on the quad. It is one of the most active parts of our campus, but it gives you so much to do and explore. I love the quad because it changes seasonally based on the events. So every fall, it turned into a big pumpkin patch, getting ready for the spooky Halloween season, letting students pick up, carve, paint their pumpkins. In the winter, we put a bunch of Christmas lights and holiday lights around the trees that align the quad, and it becomes like walking in a winter wonderland, which is pretty neat. And then in the spring, we get ready for the end of the year by having our big spring fest on the quad, put a large stage on there, have musical acts, lawn games, all that fun stuff going on throughout the day. So if you come to campus, take a stop by the quad, lounge out in the chairs, swing on the swings, and I'm telling you, something will be going on. Maybe we even get free food sometimes. They have ice cream on there today, believe it or not. All right. Other big things that happen here is obviously going to be your way to explore what you're going to do post Lafayette. And here, research is a big part of that for students to explore. Since we are fully undergraduate, this means you are not competing with graduate students for research opportunities. So it means you can get some of these things as early as year one. You'll see here 41% of students have the opportunity to participate in some form of independent research. So this is not counting the research that you'll do in classes or with professors. This is your own led initiatives. The first way that students will be able to do research is through our Excel Scholars research programs. These are programs that students can apply for following the summer, during the summer following your first year. So if you know research you want to do, you submit this proposal, pick a faculty member you'd like to assist you, and if it's approved, you get summer housing and a stipend to bring this idea to life, allowing students to explore all this independent research that they are interested in diving deeper into. Students obviously then have their honors thesis, do their junior, senior year courses, but throughout our campus, there are many facilities that are open for students to be able to use at their own leisure. One of those is the Dyer Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and this ties into why entrepreneurship has become very popular on our campus. This center was only built about 5 years ago, but it's already grown to be one of the top entrepreneurial centers at a liberal arts college of its size, of our size. But this allows students to do things like tech clinics, economic empowerment, and global learning projects, but also to bring any ideas that they have to life. And it's actually how we got swings on campus. So if you ever come and visit campus, you will see that we have 12 swings sprinkled throughout College Hill. And what is awesome is that these are environmentally friendly swings. And how they are environmentally friendly is because they're connected to the tree branches via a pulley system. So they do no damage to the tree bark, And the founders of these swings always like for me to brag that they can also hold up to 300 pounds. So it's really cool to know that these are something that came out of the Dyer Center. Two students, one was a senior, one was a junior when they created it. The senior graduated and used this as a resume booster, talked about it in jobs and graduate school applications. And the junior, when they graduated, decided to turn this into their full-time business. Take the team, continue building this idea, and now it's going to bring these swings to other colleges, other parks throughout the country, which I think is pretty awesome. So when you have spaces like this, it really allows you, like I said, to do independent research, but think about how you can still do it on a big level. The other way that students are doing a lot of research currently at Lafayette is through sustainability. Lafayette has made it our climate action plan to be carbon neutral by 2035. So this means that if you're interested in sustainability, environmental sciences, environmental studies, this is a fantastic time to be on our campus. We've been putting up solar panels, we've been doing wind turbines, and we actually recently just completed our full food circle, cycle, loop, whatever you want to call it. It's in a rotation. It comes back around basically through our campus farm. A lot of the produce that is grown there is used directly in our cafeterias and dining centers. So it's really farm to table. And then whatever is not used there is composted and taken right back to the farm and used in that soil. So having that full circle loop completed here on our campus is just one of those amazing things towards sustainability that our new initiatives popping up every year. And lastly is going to be through study abroad. It's always been big for our students to be able to study abroad and see the country, regardless of your major. That's one of the big things that we always share is even students in engineering have the opportunity to study abroad. Second semester of your sophomore year as an engineer, you can either go to Bonn, Germany or Madrid, Spain, and in no way disrupts your four-year plan. Anybody that's studying a foreign language, you're also going to be strongly encouraged to go study abroad in that language country of origin. But if you are not in either of those majors, any other major, the world is really wide open to you. 40% of our students will do some type of study abroad experience before they graduate, allowing students to have flexibility going during the school year, the winter break, the summer break, and knowing that any financial aid or tuition assistance students receive carries along with them when they go to do those opportunities. All of this leads to students being able to find great placement after Lafayette. You'll see about 95% of students are able to find employment within 6 months of graduation. So it's either employment, graduate school, or continuing some term of volunteer internship opportunity. But that's because 98% of students, while they're here, have the opportunity to participate in those research opportunities, internship opportunities, or something that we like to call externships, which allows students as early as their sophomore year to start exploring careers through sneak peek shadow opportunities for 3 to 5 days long with Lafayette alums or parents of current Lafayette students. This really allows students to get that in-depth exploration early on before you start seeking those bigger internships, but also before you even have to declare your major. So if you're really unsure of what major you want to declare or maybe what additional major or minor you want to tack on, these gives you opportunities to have conversations with people in the real world to potentially find those answers that you're seeking. The last biggest thing that I'll share about our Gateway Career Center, not only do they give you all these amazing opportunities while you're a student on campus, but that connection stays with you for a lifetime. Because when you graduate from Lafayette, you have access to the Gateway Career Center for free for life. So I think that's always reassuring to know that they will help you out, whether you're at your junior year, just saying, I need help putting together my resume, or if you're 5 years graduated from Lafayette and you come back saying, hey, things have actually changed and I'm thinking of making a career change. Still have that great service, all those great tools, which keeps our alumni strongly connected to Lafayette, allowing our current students to benefit as well. All right. Now, before we wrap up, all these things that I mentioned, if they've appealed to you, if they've made you feel as though Lafayette is the place that you have to be at, then this goes the quick details in our application process so that you can know how to make Lafayette a reality. So here we are members of the Common App. That's the only way to apply to Lafayette. When you apply, we'll obviously get your common application with your essay, additional writing supplemental question of just why Lafayette. And then we are test optional. So if you want to submit your testing, we will accept those. We do super score and we do allow you to self-report. But if you do not want to submit your testing, that is totally fine. Nothing additional is needed. When students apply, one thing that we do also track is demonstrated interest. So for students that have the opportunity to connect with us, whether it's virtual or in person, we do interviews, although they're not required, always strongly encouraged as far as being another way to just demonstrate some of that interest and advocate for your application as well. When students apply, all students are considered for merit scholarships, so there's no additional application that's needed. We offer merit scholarships in three different amounts. We have our Marquee Fellowship, which covers the cost of full tuition, Marquee Scholars, which covers the cost of half tuition, and both of these will increase if the cost of tuition ever increases. And then Lafayette, what we call Kernan Awards, which range from as low as 10,000 to about 30,000 for students and families within there as well. We also have the opportunity, like I mentioned earlier, to give out athletic scholarships being Division One school, but also, as you see here, are paired with the Posse Partnership in DC and New York. We are an Army ROTC affiliate school and also have different federal work study plus on and off campus employment. Now, the biggest thing that I always like to talk about as well is when it comes to financial aid, we are proud to be one of about 73 schools in the country that meets 100% of a family's demonstrated need. Families do have to complete the FAFSA and the CSS profile to be considered for our financial aid process. But whatever those numbers kick back and says your family qualifies for as far as their need to afford college, we will meet 100% of that for all 4 years. We also have our $200,000 no loan commitment. So this means that you won't see absolutely zero loans on your financial aid plan, but it means that we will do what we can to reduce the amount of loans that are in a financial aid agreement if your family has $200,000 or less of combined income. So any federal loans that you receive that we can replace with Lafayette grants, we will work to do that. Not only thinking about how we make it feasible for your 4 years, but how we make sure it's not a burden for the years afterwards, kind of looking at that full picture. For students that are looking to apply to Lafayette, we have our three main deadlines. As you'll see there, we do not have any early action or rolling admissions. We do have early decision, which the deadline for that has been moved up this year to November 5th. And then we have our regular decision and early decision deadlines of January 5th. If you're not familiar with early decision two, I always like to quickly explain it. Basically, if you submit a regular decision application by January 5th, and then you're just lounging out and you're like, you know what? I got a strong feeling that Lafayette is the place that I got to be. I feel like that's just my number one pick. That's okay. You then have until February 1st to contact us and change your regular decision application into an early decision two application. What it does is get your decision back sooner, but it is one of those binding agreements where if you are accepted, we are expecting you to enroll. So I always tell students, as far as it comes to early decision or any school process in this college admission selection, it's always going to be a heart of hearts, but also a gut of guts, mind of minds decisions that you have to make sure everything's lined up in one. If anything that I've said here has made you want to reach out, ask some more questions about Lafayette and see how it can become a potential fit for you, here goes my contact information. Feel free to reach out anytime. I'd love to connect more with y'all. And like I said, if you're not from my territories, definitely reach out to your admissions rep because they're going to be the person that holds your Lafayette face in the palm of their hands. I'm just kidding. We love to advocate for y'all and we love to get connected any way we can. So that's all I have about Lafayette. Matt, what questions do you have for me?
Thanks very much, Dysean. So, kind of my first question is, knowing a liberal arts college that draws students from all across the country and the globe, right? I was wondering, but it's still, I imagine most of your students still come from that Northeast
Mm,
corridor, right? But for those students that come to Lafayette, maybe that aren't from those areas and want, after they graduate, they want to go home.
yep,
What does that alumni network look like outside that traditional kind of DC to Boston corridor? You see all those folks tend to
yep,
flock towards, but more or less they're actually going down south or west for
yep.
for jobs and just better cost of living, all those factors of the last decade or so.
Definitely. So it's definitely, I think, expansive. I think as small schools go, we have a bigger radius than I would say I've seen most have. It always still shocks me sometimes when I'm flying back and forth between Pennsylvania and California. I put on a Lafayette hat and a couple people call it out.
Yeah.
Some people in good favor, some people are, from the rival school that have mean things to say. But I think it does go to show kind of our connections that are available for students. So first things first, as I mentioned earlier, our campus being where it is in the Lehigh Valley, all these other schools around us, our area actually has so much more diversity than most of the Pennsylvania and Northeast may show. So
Mhm.
students are able to make a lot of connections globally just right here in their backyard. But then our internship programs through Gateway don't limit students. They actually allow students to still think about maybe where they want to place and where they'd want to be traveling. If any student would find an internship or experience in the Pennsylvania area, they can get summer housing. But if they find one that's not in the Pennsylvania area, they can still apply for a stipend through Gateway to help them with completing those if there's like travel costs or all those additional things. So we really do support students going and doing opportunities, whether it's in our hometown, whether it's in their hometown, or if they're like, I don't like either of those towns and I want to go somewhere else, they can explore all those. But through our strong alumni connection, our Gateway Career Center has a 94% knowledge rate. So they know what 94% of all of our alumni are up to. So they know, hey, if you wanted to go to Oregon or Texas or little Nebraska for an internship, we can definitely explore if there's an alum there, and we'll have a pretty strong feeling if we can or cannot put you in touch with somebody. So I think it happens more often than none that Lafayette students do kind of spread their wings a little bit more after graduation. It just depends on where they've made their connections.
Yeah, gotcha. And you mentioned engineering a couple times, which is a
Yep.
pretty unique situation for a liberal arts college to have a full-fledged engineering program. But I was wondering for those other kind of programs that aren't usually found on an undergraduate campus, something like architecture or law or business, like an MBA. Do y'all have any sort of agreement with other universities that offer like a maybe a 3-2 or a 3-3 for certain programs like that?
Yeah, so no full 3-2s with other schools that are factored in. The closest thing that we'll have in comparison to those is any students that are coming looking for education. They
Okay.
can do their undergraduate degree in things like, mathematics, history, whatever they choose. And then through DeSales University, which is here in the Lehigh Valley, they can do a 1-year teaching certificate program to be able to teach at the secondary level. So
Okay.
students are looking for elementary or special, still a little bit limited, but gives those opportunities. And then through the Dyer Center for Innovation Entrepreneurship, we do have a way for students to get certificate programs done. So if they wanted to get like their certificate in data analytics or a certificate in leadership, they can do those as well. But those are kind of really the only things, I guess, close to those type of offerings.
So in that same vein, are you kind of thinking that these certificate programs are kind of the updated version of that? Like you're adding something on top of your traditional kind of liberal arts grounded education, as opposed to, oh, do another 2 years at somewhere else. You have the opportunity to have a specialization without actually having to go through the process of going to another school. Are you kind of seeing that being a trend among you and your peer institutions?
Yeah, I don't know so much about all of our peer institutions, but I know here, as opposed to adding on these 3-2 programs or doing
Mhm.
the additional things, I think we've always looked at, how flexible and diverse can our curriculum be. So one thing that I think a lot of our students, since you had mentioned it, like the entrepreneurship or the certificate programs, our policy studies is I think really what a lot of our students that maybe have that business or entrepreneurship mind gravitate towards. With our policy studies, you can choose concentrations in like economics, real estate, community development. There's even one in like I think art, the economics of arts or something like that.
Mhm.
So still with these liberal arts angles, as far as saying anything that's in economics, anything that's in policy studies can be transferable. But what are really those specific things that you're looking to get from your degree? So as opposed to telling students you need to take more classes or combine these two things. It's really more so like, our curriculum is vast, our classes, are dense. So what is it that you're really trying to do, and how do we help you formulate that here? And I think students are able to find a lot of great successes, and then knowing that if we don't have it, there's those other 6 schools in the area that may offer it. It allows us to benefit as well.
Okay. Great. And my final question, you mentioned the tracking of demonstrated interest, which families kind of hear that and I know like alarm bells might go off, but you and I know I used to work on the college side and the
Yep.
idea of demonstrated interest, it's evolved through COVID, right? So can you kind of
Yep.
elaborate on what demonstrated interest means in the era of which a plethora of virtual as well as in-person options for families to consider.
Yeah, so I would start by saying, demonstrated interest is not some sort of point system. So you definitely don't need to be like, all right, we visited the school 4 times and we only saw this one too, so we got to get 2 more visits. Like, no, it doesn't balance out like that. Really, what it does is it allows you as families to, look more at these schools in depth. Really prioritize where are your top schools, where are your not so top schools. I tell families, don't demonstrate interest in Lafayette just because you're doing it. Like demonstrate interest in Lafayette because you want to be here, and that's the
Mhm.
place where you want to spend some of your time. When we look at it on our end, it's obviously one way for us to look at, how students have connected with us, if they have that understanding of Lafayette and kind of who we are as a school. But you can have that understanding and never have stepped foot on campus. I think, as you had mentioned, since COVID, virtual opportunities, emails with your admissions rep, just calling and having conversations with some of our student ambassadors, that all counts as demonstrated interest and is tracked. And like we said, at the end of the day, we're just hoping that you are able through that to understand, hey, Lafayette is a place for me, and this is the place where I want to be. And if that's what you've done, then it easily shows through your application. That's why one of those things that I mentioned earlier with the process is those supplemental questions.
Hmm.
Most schools, when they ask that, it's just more of like, why do you want to come here? And if you've demonstrated that interest, then that should be a pretty easy question to answer. And that's just usually what we're looking for. Who are those students that have not only learned about us, but then have identified like, yeah, this is a place where they truly feel as though they can succeed. And when those things come together, then you know that you have a pretty good match. And that's what we're also looking for because we got to make sure we get students that are going to stay here. Retention is a real thing. But we also want to make sure, we're getting students that are going to be happy with coming here too. That's what makes your campus better. If you have students that are not only great students, but actually enjoy being there.
Yeah, gotcha. So I think that's a great place to end. As you see on the screen, there's Dysean's information. If you are from one of those territories he mentioned, but if not, as he mentioned, there is the website shows you person by person where their territories are. And just to clarify, it's which school, the state or t country or territory in which they go to school, not where they're physically located, right?
Oh no, so we do it, yeah, based on the school where you're coming from. So
Okay.
yeah, if you're a boarding school student, your rep is going to be break down by your school. Good
Okay.
question.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, like I said, on behalf of Dysean and myself, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.